Loving it. And I feel like we are blessed this fall with a makeup fall. Does anybody else feel that way? Like after last year, this fall's gonna last and already has. It's so cool. Anyways, we are really excited to have Kristina Fahl here with us today. She and her husband, John, have been patrons of Hatch for years and years, which is pretty cool. And we've had John up here. He is the dark writer. He's an author. And honestly, I feel like you guys are like such a cool couple. I'm almost super fascinated. So when I first heard about Kristina's company, I was like, oh, that's cute, like Uber for kids. And I myself am a mom that spends at least an hour and a half a day driving around weekdays. And then my daughter's like, hey, can we go do this? And I'm like, like, I don't want to go do anything else because I don't really like driving. My nickname was Crash in high school. Really? That's probably where this came from. Before we get started, I just want to give a big shout out to our organizers. Everybody's working awesomely hard. If you have a moment right now, take out your phone too. This is the QR code for checking in. This helps with funding. They don't track you. It's a friendly QR code.
Right.
Yeah. Happy vibes. Happy vibes. And on that note, Brian Hickey is doing an amazing job of getting all of these videos onto YouTube. You see him working hard. He's getting it down to a science. And he's going to be beginning to offer these services. So if you have events coming up that you want to have directly recorded on YouTube with 3 different camera.
Yeah, I've hired him already.
You have?
Well, actually, it was a friend of ours who's doing a Kickstarter, and he wants a video of something, and so Brian's doing the video for it.
That's so cool. Well, you'll have to keep us posted. If it's short, we can even show it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, big shout out here to Brian for doing that. We also have Britt and Tyler Powell with Britt Creative who are doing all of our social media and our newsletter. It's been a big deal. I can't even tell you. I thank God for them every single week. Bill McKinnon, Sarah Leslie, Siobhan Robinson, who is awesome, and we just booked everybody through February yesterday. Sean Como, who does the calendar each week and the slideshow. Brian Hickey again, and the cutest couple in the world, Ray and Paula Gainsbury. All right. So just a few things before we get started. We're going to do the presentation. Afterwards, we're going to do a little Q&A. Who is here for the first time? Yay! Well, we're glad you're here. That's awesome. So this is how it flows, guys. We do 20 minutes and then Q&A. You wait for the microphone, you raise your hand, and you say your name at the beginning. You say, hi, I'm Marty, because that's Marty. And Marty's going to speak a wee bit at the end to talk about some exciting things going on in our important things in our region. Okay, without further ado, can we please welcome to the stage Kristina Fahl.
Hi everyone. Good morning. I hope you're all caffeinated. I'm getting a mental chair. My name is Kristina Fahl. I'm co-founder of ShuttleBee. I'll probably step this way so I can see. And my family and I moved here about 5 years ago. So we're only 25 years from being considered local. But grateful that you all are here to support the entrepreneurial community. So ShuttleBee, and thank you Erica for that amazing intro. ShuttleBee gives big operator energy to small student transportation providers. I'm the first to admit there's some companies that are best managed by large industries like auto manufacturing and building skyscrapers and pulling the salt from large bodies of water. But then there's other industries that are best served by small companies, and these are situations that require some kind of magic to happen to make the unit economics work, like art and personal wellness businesses, and anything mentioned in the song White Woman's Instagram. But I'm here to ask the bold question, why not student transportation? Especially now. The supply of safe, qualified transportation providers is shrinking. What does that mean? Well, we all know, we've heard about the driver shortages, but it's actually a bit worse. there are operator shortages. It used to be when student transportation started, they were all run by small businesses, mom and pop companies that started from one vehicle and advanced their way through. But increasingly over time, what's happened is regional and national carriers have taken on most of that work. Nothing against big operators, right? It's just that by the time you layer all those layers of management, the drivers typically get less than 10% of those contracts. And there should be a better way. But over time, those small operators have been squeezed out because they pay over 6 times more for commercial auto insurance. I ran a student transportation company way back when, and we paid $10,000 a year to insure a minivan with commercial auto with $35,000 combined single limit. So if you think about your own personal policy and what you have and what that would be, and then if you think about North Carolina, where it's required to have $1.5 million in coverage, so you can see how small operators, if they haven't been out there for decades, are totally squeezed out. But that's where ShuttleBee comes in. We are an insurance-powered marketplace for student transportation. Now, what does that mean? Lyft and Uber are an insurance-powered marketplace. Airbnb is a marketplace. So the general construct is the same. We're connecting families and schools and organizations with transportation providers. But the nuts and bolts of how we do things is so very different. In fact, we have this crazy idea that if you pull together the very best tools in the market, we're not here to reinvent the wheel, but a lot of these great tools and technologies are available to large operators. They're used in the trucker space. If you aggregate them and then overlay proprietary safety data or safety technology that we need to run this business, we have this crazy idea that you can prevent risk in real time. And then if you do that, you can save lives. When friends and family ask what it is I do for a living, I tell them, we're not Uber for kids. We build entrepreneurs. These are folks that already have transportation experience, but maybe they don't know how to build a model, or they've never seen a P&L, or maybe they don't know how to contact an employment attorney if they need one. Running solo trips is fantastic, but for these folks to be bankable, to enter the market as new operators, they need annual contracts, which means they need to be supported with schools who will give them steady work that's defined day after day over time. And then finally, one of the challenges that we see is that it's really hard for a small operator to have the resiliency of a large one, simply because if you have a 5% of your backup fleet as a large operator, 5% of one vehicle is still no vehicles. And it's a challenge to get these smaller companies to deliver the same reliability. So a lot of what we do is business continuity training, teaching folks to maximize their resource and depend heavily on their network when they need it. Has anybody here ever sat in car line? Okay, so you are part of our $180 billion market hidden in plain sight because 54% of families take their kids to school. Now, schools already spend billions on transportation, but the rise of microfleets, special ed routes, school districts that pay parents to opt out of busing, and overall parents' demand for flexibility in a way that life is so different than when the school bus was invented in the 30s and 40s. This has created this $40 billion market that legacy players just can't address. We make money in 2 major ways. The first way is we sell safety technology to schools. And then second, we sell insurance to providers who need coverage to enter the space. So we solve supply and demand at the same time. Here's how it works. We sell our safety technology to schools because schools typically don't call me and say, I really need a safety program. They say, we want transportation. So we start by selling them the safety program. Then we use that as lead gen to offer commercial auto insurance to those providers who need it to enter the space. So it's a self-fulfilling loop. And while safety is our wedge, it's actually fueling our flywheel of distribution. So this is a really exciting time. This is our first sales cycle as part of ShuttleBee 2.0. It started in the beginning of October. It'll end in Thanksgiving. So we're in active conversations with a number of schools and optimistic that those will translate into contracts towards the end of the year. We're also a second-time participant in the Elevate program in Asheville. I don't know if we're the only one to do it twice. Maybe, not sure. But that's been a great experience. So ShuttleBee leads with insurance, access, training, and other competitors in the space lead with ride shares, route optimization technology, and school buses, which is why we actually see them as future potential partners. Our team was built for this. Somil Jain is a 27-year insurance executive. He was chief actuary at Steadily Insurance and also at Next, which just exited for $1.8 billion. But then before that, he actually built telematics programs at large insurance companies from the ground up. First at Plymouth Rock and then at Travelers. So if you have Travelers and you have that little device, you can thank Somil. He did that. He's also on the board of ed of his own school. I'm a third-time founder. I'm also a masochist. I've held executive roles at venture-backed companies, understudying from CEOs. Probably should have done that the first time around. But it was through that experience that I've operationalized large contracts, including a $100 million contract at one of the largest airports in the world. So we've seen this problem from every angle. Also supported by a killer team of advisors. Emmy Kabuta is the reason why I'm here today. Not to put you on the spot, but put you on the spot. Not a lot of people can convince you to reboot the business you shut down, but that's Emmy. And so if you need that adrenaline shot in your business, go find her. She's right there. She's brilliant. Also Dawn, who couldn't be with us today. There's a reason why Dawn Walker is behind a number of the successful female founders in the Asheville area. She's brilliant and she is sharp, and usually people that sharp have really sharp elbows, but she does not have a sharp bone in her body, and I am grateful for her help. They said I had to limit my community asks to like 3 minutes and not like, the whole hour. So if I had to pick three, number one would be risk management expertise. I can think about minimally 50 ways that risk management proactivity touches our business. And some examples of that is we have a local teacher friend who's helping to inform our special needs onboarding process for special needs students. This could be anyone from some people who know crossing guard safety to people who communicate with schools and districts to urban planners. So it's a wide bucket. I know you're out there. I see you. I'd love to talk more. And sales professionals. So sales is not my gift. I'm freely able to admit that, but we're selling water in the desert, which means even I can get this across the line. Would love to interact with sales professionals, either folks who understand that their skill set passes through lots of different industries, or folks who might even see this as a gig opportunity to connect with schools and potentially make those connections for us. And then finally, my social media game is not good. We have 35 followers from 5 years ago. I just got the password reset, so if you would please. That was no small effort. Thank you. That took like 2 days, okay? And like setting up new domains that were old ones. It was rough. So I would love some follows to look like we actually have the brilliant support that we actually have. Our goal is to become indispensable to schools for transportation oversight. We'd love for kids to take the ShuttleBee to school. And we're not just solving logistics. We are unlocking trapped supply, and we are building defensibility through underwriting data, through safety, and through trust. Thank you.
Who has some questions?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Have you considered a sustainability angle?
I love this question. So I am not a sustainability expert, and if you are one, please come talk to me. But there's a ton of different angles we can go with this. The first one simply being we're coordinating vehicles who would travel separately and getting them together in one vehicle, that's a starting place. But yeah, we see this as the future of EV management. We see the ability to report our activity from a sustainability perspective, and reporting is actually this huge thing that does not happen in the student transportation space. There's this report called a DVIR that should happen, but often doesn't. So just even having that data on how kids travel would be huge. So lots of work to do there, and super excited to be tackling it. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
As a mom who has been tortured through many car lines, could you just give me a picture on what the end result is? Are we talking people with minivans? Are we talking people who buy a bus?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't know that we can improve the school bus outlook. And many of the transportation operators that we'd love to bring forward are previous transportation experience. They've been bus drivers. They've supervised bus driver teams. They do not want to own a bus. Okay, in a million years, they do not want to do that. But what they do see the value in is purchasing a commercial minivan, purchasing a commercial passenger van. So anything in that non-CDL space, the drivers typically would, in most cases, should have CDLs, but they'll be driving vehicles that don't necessarily require it. Thank you.
Hey, Clark Harris, fellow Hatchling and Elevate person.
Thank you for being here.
Nice to see you. Can you talk more about your dispatch software, like if that's your big hook, and then who is the target rider? Because I've heard special needs, but is this just your typical family, or everybody is a target, or is it people? Yeah.
So I'll talk about the target first. So special needs, certainly. If you've ever seen a 70-passenger bus carrying 3 students, the reason is because there is often not a vehicle in that fleet that can do this work, and we think that they should, right? So there's lots of situations where a smaller vehicle is the optimized solution. It's just that a bus company doesn't activate a lot of them for a number of reasons. When we ran ShuttleBee the first time, schools were our target. We will target public schools, but that's a 5-year procurement process, something in our future. We're starting with independent schools and charter schools, and parents. You know, we booked a lot of small groups of parents who organized a contract and then agreed to the nuts and bolts, who got dropped off first. Do we go to dance on Tuesday and soccer on Wednesday? You know, they were really able to build in their own white glove flexibility to the program. Based on an agreement they all had together. So I don't know if I answered it correctly, but it could be a variety of different customers, but prevalently at choice schools, at charter schools and independent schools where we'll start. And then your first question about dispatch, I will not go on endlessly about this. So if this is something you're curious about, I'd love to talk to you. There is really great technology that already exists. Telematics are those tools that go in the vehicle that give you alerts like your driver's speeding, they took a harsh left turn, but there's also a lot of noise. So it's important to have a human in the loop interpreting that noise and actioning it. But there are companies that are getting better and better at delivering behaviorally built responses in the vehicle. Like, you know, if you yell at a driver while they're speeding, guess what? They're going to go faster. It doesn't work. So there's been a lot of thought into how you deliver coaching. But then also you can take those alerts and notice patterns of behavior that could result in an incident. And that's the activity that this human in the loop program will learn to manage and action in real time. Sort of like air traffic control.
Can you go into the safety component a little bit more to explain like how improving safety in real time reduces your insurance premium?
Yeah.
I think that's like the loop that's really beneficial to your cost structure.
Yeah, so thank you. Because we've got this safety telematics data, it can inform the risks, and small operators will benefit from their safe driving behavior. Telematics isn't used in that way right now. It's used to track, and insurance companies might look at it once a year maybe. But commercial auto insurance is actually not priced based on driver history. And we just found that pretty jarring. It's like the one thing it should be based on, right? It's based on things like years in service, fleet size. Did I go over this already? Probably. The average fleet size is 93. So a small operator is a check against them if they don't fit that space. So all of the factors that do go into pricing commercial auto penalize the small operators. So yeah, so that's, I think there's a hesitation. You put a device in my vehicle, my rates could go up. And in our situation, we're actually using it to price according to the risk that we're seeing, and giving you the secret answer key to how you can actually get better rates through better safety.
Hi, my name is Pramila, and so my question is coming from like a branding specialist.
Yes.
Marketing
Help me.
consultant. So I have like a two-pronged question. So my first question is, what geographic market are you in right now, and what markets are you looking in the future to expand into?
Yeah. So we plan to be across the U.S. There are some states that will be harder than others. For this year, we're launching in 6 states: North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey, Maryland. So, and the reason for that is insurance. Their processes look the same. They take the same forms. We didn't want to boil the ocean. So we're focused primarily there to start.
Cool. So right now, where you're at, what are your clients that you have served? What are the things that you love the most about what you do, and what are the things that you wish you could serve that you're not yet there?
I think what I wish we could serve is the solo student transportation pickup, like the true Uber model. The cost still doesn't make sense, especially across an entire year. And unfortunately, the cost of that service doesn't align with expectations. I mean, if you booked an Uber every day to school, that you're looking at, a very large bill for that. And I think that's the one service I'd love to book. I don't know that we're going to be there quickly. But what people love is the fact we exist. We're thinking about it a little differently. And, really, it's the drivers. I think if there's one thing that they love, it's the drivers.
Hi, my name is Tim.
Thank you.
And I'm just kind of curious to better understand who your actual core customer profile is, because you talked about pursuing the schools, but then you also mentioned after school activities, like going to the soccer practice and stuff. So are customers the schools paying you for the service, as well as individual parents and groups?
Yeah. So we target schools, families, and organizations. So schools is the one that makes a lot of sense. Activities after school is a little less intuitive, but it's the same principle. But where parents get together is they've booked those contracts as a group. So if a vehicle can, transport 6 kids, the parents will agree to the terms and divide the cost amongst them. Sometimes siblings get discounts, sometimes they don't. Really, that's between the group to define the behaviors and activity of that vehicle. Just like you'd book a limo for a year, I guess, if that were a thing. So
that makes sense. And then as a follow-up question, so your go-to-market strategy is kind of divided a little bit, like how you're actually getting those separate cohorts to come to your business.
Oh, totally. In fact, it's 3 different segments and 3 different timings. So right now we're targeting schools now through Thanksgiving. And then after that, we'll start with the parent market and summer camps and go on from there. But yeah, that's exactly right.
Hey,
Hello.
great presentation.
Thank you.
the former educator in me is dying to know.
Oh
Do your drivers or will your drivers have cameras in their cars?
no. Yes.
Like school buses?
Yes, they will. It is mandated. So the telematics isn't an option, it's a requirement. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul. Again,
Paul.
yes, beautiful presentation.
Thank
I think
you.
this is something that is a very worthy cause and a very worthy thing. And I hope that you're able to find amazing solutions to all the problems that you're in. My question mainly is where, like, is the age group mainly up to high school, or is there any thoughts about like community colleges or kind of college students that have to travel outside of dorming and stuff like that? Where's the edge? Where's the line?
Yeah, you're hired. Talk afterwards. I think we're going after the early adopters, and I think where we see the early need is young students who have car seat needs or who aren't served by other systems. So in a lot of areas, kindergartners, first graders don't have access to the school bus. That's a big pocket. We did have some high school clients. It's typically if there's a specialized school and there's no public transportation and it's far away. So there are some, and I definitely see. I love the traveling back and forth to school. There are companies that do that. So I think that anywhere the smaller vehicle makes sense, we're in. So definitely down the line, especially as those come under RFP processes, as we grow into that stage. Excited to take that on. So not quite yet, but definitely down the line. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
I'm hearing you mention a lot about operators and drivers and people that are retired from this transportation space that don't want to drive a bus, but they still want to offer people rides. Where I'm drawing a really large disconnect is you're not hiring moms who just love to be with kids. You're hiring people that have the money to start a business, to purchase a whole fleet. Like, what is the size of a regular fleet? And how are you helping those people that want to launch a company with you doing this full time fund that process?
I love this question, and I'm probably not going to have enough time to dive into it, but we spent a lot of time here. So no, for the reasons of our nicknames, busy moms do not always have the time to be managing.
We don't want to.
No, we're like, please no, I can't do it. So typically that has not been a customer, a driver fit that works well. Parents with kids who are older, for sure, but as they're like 12 and under, 15 or under, this is probably not the target market. So I am passionate about bringing folks to entrepreneurship, and often they have the experience in the safety and mechanics and temperament, but they may not know how to build a financial model. So we have lots of models to run by. Part of the program will be, collecting more data, but we're building bridges with banks and with CDFIs to really connect a driver with a school who will give them a contract. And then that contract will typically be a very big step in helping them become bankable. So a lot of these operators will start as owner operators to begin with, unless they have tremendous experience. But you start one by one and you go from there.
Yeah, I wanted to know if there was some big news over the last couple of weeks that you might want to share.
Thank you, John. I may have had some help with the application from John and Jay and a handful of people in this room. By the way, half of you are supporters, so thank you so much for all the time you've put in. But yeah, we were just selected to receive the NT Idea micro grant. So yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill McKinnon.
Hi, Bill.
The question I have is, how do you vet or choose the drivers?
Yeah. So the drivers are actually offered a scholarship to our ShuttleBee University program. It starts with all the normal first steps of we look at MVRs or motor history records, and we look at their past performance and background checks. And we do hire a private investigator because when folks live across lines, all those background checks required by the state actually aren't good enough in some situations. So we've studied the gaps in the regulatory requirements and we supplement them. So that's our compliance program. But then beyond that, we're looking for folks that are entrepreneurial. This can be a 9-month program to get authority to operate in a state. So it's not fast. So we're not getting fly-by-night people who say, I want to work tomorrow. This is an investment of their time and of ours. So typically, once we have a cohort available, it's up to them to interview with schools who offer them contracts. So they win the work. And we support them along the way, but it's theirs to win.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. Hey, my name is Mo Alshar with Accounting. We're an accounting firm that specializes in transportation and logistics companies.
No way.
And,
Help me.
And he's awesome.
I just was curious about like how do you handle invoicing? And we work with a lot of trucking companies and manufacturing companies, so we're in the weeds usually in the invoicing side of things and charging per mile and that side of things. And how do you handle those contracts with fuel prices going up and down and the invoicing?
Oh, so that is, again, we could talk for miles. Hopefully we will. So the invoices, we try and keep them simple. It doesn't always work that way. We tie fuel to CPI typically. Folks aren't willing to say, well, my charge will change every month, but if you can tie it to a consumer price index and say, well, we're willing to split the risk on this and do a calculation every week, that's typically how we've done it. But at the end of the day, it's an annual contract with a fixed number divided by, segments. And again, every school's different. We've had schools want something different, and we're here to accommodate. But payments is huge. I've worked with a lot of payments programs. It's like a whole world that we'll have to get into. We'll be so lucky to get into one day. But yeah, excited for all the help and experience you have. And it's tough to find folks in your space willing to look at a model. So thanks for volunteering. Appreciate that.
Hey, my name is Evan Bixby. You made an analogy earlier that's kind of like renting a limo for a year for some of these families. So I'm curious how you kind of approach and think about this from a income inequality standpoint, especially as you look at different school districts, whether they're rural, inner city, disadvantaged school districts, and from a family standpoint.
Yeah, so this is definitely, so we've supported Title I schools, for example, and we've supported Head Start programs, and it's based on economics. Economics have to win. So in a lot of situations, the solution we provide is more cost effective than renting the school bus. Are there families who will use this as an addendum to childcare because they can? Absolutely. And are they going to be our early adopters? Probably. And when we talk to schools who have before and after care programs that are supported or funded by state programs, this is not a program that's most important to them. What is important is they have access to the field trips and they have access to emergency situations, which all exists because the ecosystem exists. So at the end of the day, it's our job to make the economics work. Part of our struggle is, we have access to contracts in other states where, a single student is transported by a taxi company for $70,000 a year. So that's our number. And we're not, so what is parity? What is the right number? And the reason for that, in a lot of cases, is because taxi companies their pricing is mandated by tariffs. And it's not the tariffs you're thinking of today. It's like a document, sort of like the meter in a cab. They have to charge what they charge. They're not allowed to charge anything different. But that pricing is based on them hunting for their work every day, not being given a contract for a year. So they charge a lot because they have to, required by state, but it doesn't match the cost of goods if you do it a different way. So in a lot of ways, I think we are bringing more economic opportunity, not just to school bus drivers who are now entrepreneurs, who get a bigger slice of that contract, but then also to schools who may not have access to transportation. They now have access to this network and this ecosystem. So we're getting there. I'm not saying it's perfect, but if you have if anybody has advice in this area, I'd love to bring it in.
Hey there, my name's Ryan. So you mentioned this is kind of ShuttleBee 2.0.
Yeah.
This is probably a long answer, maybe this is a short version.
I'll try.
What made you shut down 1.0, and then what's different about 2.0?
Yeah, we shut down because of insurance. The math didn't math. Yeah, we couldn't compete with the large carriers because we were paying 6 times more.
And it's less expensive now?
So we've built an insurance product around the problems that give large operators that edge.
Hey, Kristina.
Hey, Brett, how are you?
I have one thought. Initially, was my neighbor here said, "What about the elderly?"
I love that.
Market shuttles that need to happen.
Yes.
The question that I have is about exit. So you've got an ambition to hit 50 states, and I can see a lot of different people who would want to purchase a company like yours in the future. Do you have an ideal exit that you're imagining?
If you know them, you can send them my way. I am interested in talking. The insurance, so it's 2 businesses really. The insurance side, typically, like the MGA, the insurance, the multiple for EBITDA for exits in that space is typically between 12 and 15%, right? Or 15x, sorry, not percent. Once we get to a certain threshold of premium, you're right. You either have to rebuild your infrastructure or hand it off to the experts who will maintain your mission. I think it's a little early to be thinking exits. I should be. I'm sure that's a wrong investor answer. But it's nice to see, especially with Next just recently exiting, it's really nice to see that this is a model, this is a trend, this is done. And then as far as the dispatch business, I'm curious to see, how that would get valued under the whole umbrella. So
The next IPO.
the next IPO.
No, did
Oh.
next.
No,
Exit?
they exited. They were acquired by Munich Re. So
That's a lot, that's a
big exit.
All right, we have time for one more question.
So the follow-up is on the front of self-driving cars.
Yes,
Right.
I love this question.
So in the future, again,
Can't
this is part of where my question came from around exit. Is there is a closing window for the driver side,
Or it's an opening window.
or it's an open window. So I'm curious how you think about that.
Yeah, so I think by teaching the economics of building models, understanding CPI, how fuel and all these factors impact your world, I think it's a brilliant opportunity to have educated drivers who are emerging entrepreneurs who now have access to this additional resource. Now, should a human being in the vehicle, even if they're not driving? Probably. And that's likely how this will go, especially for the younger students. But I think we're beautifully poised to ride that wave. I couldn't ask for a better ending question. Thank you. It's like you planned it. Thank you.
Well, I'm super impressed. I was like, oh, this cute little Uber company. And I think after hearing Kristina present, you are the foremost most nerd on now insurance, on fleets, I'm super, super impressed. And I can't wait to see where you take this. But we're still here, sorry. Leo. Marty, do you want to come up here and talk about some important things happening in our community?
Hello, friends. My name is Marty Benson. This is my first 1 million cups. I didn't know it was the name of the event. I thought it was an assignment, and boy, did I complete it. The reason it's my first one is because I'm literally missing my firm-wide case management meeting to be here. I work at Allen Saul and Kilbourne, which is a very competent civil practice in town as an attorney, but my MO is as an advocate and an activist. save you my whole CV because that'll give me a seizure. I was an attorney in California for many years, working in the transportation and housing advocacy space, and came over here to Port Beard in Belgium for a couple of years, and I'm practicing law. Last night, I was appointed to the Helene Infrastructure Recovery Board for the city of Asheville, but I wasn't at that meeting because I was at a meeting for a piece of legislation that I want to talk to you guys about. I do a bunch of advocacy work with Strong Towns and Asheville for All. Strong Towns specifically focuses on the intersection between accessibility and transportation equity and where it hits housing, which I perceive to be two sides of the same coin. HB 369 is poised to be one of the most important pieces of legislation probably in the next decade in North Carolina if it passes in April. It's a parking reform bill. There's a piece of research that came out of Colorado last year that sort of connected the dots and said that the most important thing that we could do to facilitate attainable housing in a country where we have a countrywide dearth of housing. We have not nearly enough supply, and a whole bunch of it is unattainable. The most important thing that we can do is deregulate off-street parking for private property owners. Since about the 50s, it's been required by most municipalities in the United States that you provide a certain number of parking spots off-street on your private property per bowling lane, or 1,000 square feet of commercial space, or number of beds in a residential development, and that sort of thing. That extra layer of regulation has resulted in an environment where we have about conservatively 8 parking spaces per automobile in the United States. And HB 369 would eliminate that ability to mandate that by the municipalities statewide for both commercial and residential uses across the state, giving the ability back to the property owner to determine how many parking spaces they want. This is not going to eliminate parking spaces. It's not going to keep you from overparking your property, but it's going to allow you, if you think that your business or your home or your residential development doesn't need a certain number of parking spaces, it's going to eliminate those mandates. So, where are we? It's got bipartisan support because it's a property rights issue, but it's also a transportation equity and housing issue. It passed through the House in June unanimously, and it will be voted on probably in April. What I'm here to ask you for is we are looking for stories from property owners, whether it's a commercial developer, a small business, a homeowner, or residential developer, about the way that parking mandates have impacted their business. These aren't my stories, so I'm not going to identify these businesses, but I'll give you 2 examples in West Asheville where I live. There's a brewery in West Asheville that opened a few years ago, and because of the onerous parking requirements imposed by the city of Asheville, they were required to do this weird arbitrage thing where they went to a neighboring business and said, okay, those parking spaces over there are now allocated so that we can let our customers park over here. That onerous parking requirement cost them money, it cost them time getting open, and it also cost them space where they could make more money if they were able to use their parking spaces that they do have on site as actual productive space. There's another business that's opened in West Asheville recently. On March 11th, there were a couple of UDO, that's the Unified Development Ordinance, zoning amendments made that eliminated mandatory parking requirements on some commercial corridors for residential and commercial uses. That happened on March 11th. There's another business that's opened on Haywood Road since then, and they have parking in the back, and that's going to be repurposed for productive space. So they're going to have bands and seating, and they'll be able to serve sandwiches out back there. And that's been facilitated by the elimination of these onerous requirements. So if you have any stories like that, in being a consummate professional, I do not have any cards on me. My name is Marty Benson. You can find me on Instagram at Marty Benson. Marty like McFly, Benson like Butler, if you're over 40. You can also go to Strong Towns Asheville on Instagram. And I'm not going to put it on YouTube, but I would love to give you my digits if you think you might have somebody that you can hook us up with who has a story about this. HB369. I just wanted to be on everybody's radar, and I would love to be connected with anybody who has any of those stories. Thanks.
Awesome. It's always so inspiring to see so many people that care so much. Keep showing up. Yay, Marty. Thank you for doing that for our community. A few announcements. We're looking for a couple new organizers. If anybody has video tech and wants to nerd out with Brian, let's go. Just go say hello to him afterwards. Also, just with coffee setup, greeting, you don't have to come every week. You don't have to stay through the whole event. You can come for the beginning or the end. We flow with the flow and your flow. If you are parking in front of the building, we ask that you park behind the building. Pollen needs business. All of our downtown businesses need business right now, which is part of what Marty's going into right there. They all need to be making those dollars after the hurricane. So do your part. Walk up the stairs or get a little extra fresh air. And then as ever since the hurricane, we have a precious bring your own mug policy. So thank you for bringing your own mug if you did. Who brought their own mug today? Yes, I love it. Love it. Good things. Oh, and if you're interested in the hatch trip to Peru, come see me afterwards. Very exciting. That'll be happening in June. Moving right along, our event sponsors, Charlie and Troy Ball, they generously donate the space each week. Western Carolina University scored Patrick with EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems, ERC Broadband, Brit Creative doing all of our marketing, our social media, and newsletter, Hatch Co-working, Dynamite Coffee Roasting Company donates the coffee every single week. Bear, the Berkshire Garside Group, and Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. Coming up next week, we have Liberated Leaders presenting. Excited for that one, and I believe that Sarah Leslie is MC. Tonight, again, if you missed our really fabulous lunch and learn last week, we had the haunted history of Asheville. Well, you have a chance to go see it again tonight. And that's here? It's here, right here. Okay, that's happening here at 5:30, and it's totally free. So it was really cool and eye-opening, and I always have more questions, like more about the tunnels, but we did find out a lot. Lunchtime yoga at Cultivate Climbing happening tomorrow. Beginners welcome, and the 5th annual Hatchaween is happening on Friday at Bear's Barbecue. Cash, money, costume, prizes. It's going to be an amazing night. We are flying in our favorite DJ, who is Snoop Dogg's DJ. Sean, you want to say anything else? He's a real deal. We flew him for our wedding too. And you have to wear dancing shoes. That's all I'll say, because you are going to shake your booties, have a great time, drink specials, and you get to support Bear's Barbecue, who supported our entire community through the storm and after. So it's a feel good all around. All right, if you didn't get a chance to check in at the beginning, check in now. And we thank you so much for coming. Have a fabulous rest of your day. We'll see you Friday night at Bear's Barbecue.